All right, folks, we're here for round 2 of GP Petrasia. Uh, Up against GP Whitecliff winner Philippe Sanner on the exact deck, the exact strategy, rather, that he won last month with. And we are on the draw, most likely, which is not where we want to be. Um, hmm. Uh, this is a workable hand, at least. Assuming my opponent is going to be on the play. Yep. Root Fossil, kind of rough here. We will draw. Mountain is fine here, though I think we're going to lead on Primal Fissure for Mountain. We could just lead on Primal Fissure, not Crack, but I think I just want to Firebolt here. That's an interesting decision point, actually. We could Firebolt here. We could just hold up the Primal Fissure. I think I just want to Firebolt here. I think every point of damage matters in this matchup, and just getting something... So the reason to hold Firebolt actually is less about pushing damage versus like holding removal, and more about whether or not we want it for a Savvy Smith trigger. Having it for Savvy Smith and Lightspeed Launcher might actually be really important. We're just gonna pass. At this point, I would have probably preferred having a tap land on one, but okay, so they're just gonna hold up Root Fossil here. We can crack Primal Fissure, go find that mountain. We're going to do it on their turn rather than waiting for our draw, even though we could just do it on our turn because I'd rather not draw a third mountain if I can help it. Scuttling Cicada is interesting. We could lead on Lightspeed Launcher. That is guaranteed to survive them flipping Root Fossil into a black source, into untap Chronicle, hit like a creature. Whereas Savvy Smith does die to the board wipe. So I'm going to go for the launcher play here. Yeah, so yeah, they're just going to crack Root Fossil here. Do the Surveil now. Scotha is scary to see them bin. Cryptolab, a little more promising. Czar as well. Okay, they whiff on the Root Fossil. That's huge. That is good for us. Let's start paying attention to their graveyard, though. Scotha's the important thing here, but so is Root Fossil. They're probably not going to do Scotha too early. Like, Tempo Scotha is probably not too good. Cityscape Pass is great for us. There are 2 and 3 drops in their deck. So for them to not have anything here, like, I don't believe they have any real instance. Yeah, they've got 2 All That Remains, but with with green up, they're not really representing. So we just have free reign to do whatever we want here. We're going to untap and draw. Island is kind of nice here. So we have a choice of going for just Savvy Smith into Firebolt, Igneous Visions into something. I think we're going to go Savvy Smith into Firebolt and do draw off Lightspeed Launcher, then discard draw off Savvy Smith. So that's going to require the second red source. Run out the Savvy Smith. Firebolt our opponent. Targets like this. Alrighty, so Launcher resolves first. Industrialize is a great pickup here. Now we can Savvy Smith, discard the Cicada and draw Primal Fissure. Good to just discard on a future turn. And then we get to do the Firebolt. So, little awkward that we do have to burn the burn spell here to get that done. It's just going to be easier than popping up Igneous Visions for no value here. Swamp is the find plus a second swamp. Exiling and All That Remains. Okay. So they could have Chronicle here to just clear Savvy Smith, but we already did get some value out of it. And if they're chronicling our Savvy Smith, then that means the Scuttling Cicada goes unscathed, rather. Cryptolab is the play here. So we do get to see their full hand. making a Can Be Cast from Exile token. Holy crap. Goodness gracious. 3 Chronicle of Extinctions. That's mortifying to be staring down here. Oh, God. And they hit the 2-drop to play off the Cryptolabe so they don't float mana. That is hellish to describe it in simpler terms. We're going to draw. How-based Familiar's good, but a little awkward in the face of Chronicle of Extinction. We would want to develop this before they could Chronicle here. Oh my God, that is all sorts of nightmare scenario. And, like, they can just take the 2 here. They don't care about the Savvy Smith hitting them. Yeah, this is all sorts of bad. All right, so I can Igneous Visions here to see what I want to do with this turn and try and inform my turn a little bit. No matter what it hits, I'm going to be able to play it, unless I guess it's a counterspell. So I think I want to lead on that. And I'm going to do Construct mode, because I just want to get the information here. And another Igneous Visions. Now it's awkward. If we hit a red spell, we can't really play it unless we Savvy Smith for red. We're going to do the add mana mode on Savvy Smith. And we'll draw off the Lightspeed launcher. Firebolt is the pickup here, so if we don't find anything better to do with the Savvy Smith, we can just Firebolt. And then Temple of Origins is the draw here. Yeah, I think it's going to be the Temple of Origins, and then we're just going to Firebolt this Mana Harvesters. Yeah, we only can do the discard draw, so we're going to discard the Primal Fisher and draw Cityscape. Pretty safe thing to pitch on another turn. And we can start chipping in, but this is going to get rough real fast. So the bright side here is Chronicles probably just going to pick off our tokens, and that's going to be the extent of our opponent's turn. Unless they hit an untapped land, at which point they can go Chronicle plus Surface Root Fossil, and that's pretty rough for us. Tapping 4. They could also go for Skotha here. 6 mana. Are they going to Chronicle? They're going to Chronicle of Awakening. Yeah, they're going to just take out the Lightspeed launcher. All right. Launcher down. That definitely could have been a worse turn for us here. Rough to lose a draw engine, but there are things we can do to mitigate this. So we'll get to untap and draw. We pick up another Scuttling Cicada. I don't really want to run out the second Cicada when they've just got 3 face-up Chronicle of Extinctions here. What we can do is lead on an Igneous Visions here. Let's lead on a Flashback Igneous Visions while we've got the time. I'm just going to move the new token separately. We hit a mountain. We could honestly just call it there on spells for turn. Play the mountain as land for turn. In theory, we could have made mana and flashed back a Firebolt here. Or we could have just played Island, Firebolted, and then, I guess, played Scuttling Cicada. Or we could have played Cicada, then... No, we couldn't have played Cicada, then Firebolt. Yeah, this How-Based Familiar just dying to the Chronicle is really awkward. And the fact that Chronicle just wipes our board right now is very difficult to deal with as well. We could industrialize here just to kind of sculpt things a little bit better, but I think I want to save that for after a like Chronicle hand attack mode, because that is possibly something they could do here. We're just gonna ship in for 3, take them to 13. Yeah, and I'm just gonna save what we've got for after a potential Chronicle hand attack, because with 3 of them, it is very likely that that's something they push for. Okay, they do find an untapped land here. No confirmation of what they've got in hand, but that does mean they get to go Chronicle plus Root Fossil here, which is pretty rough. Tapping 2 Swamps and the Cryptolab to Chronicle. I'm assuming this is going to be -2/-2 mode. Yep, that is just going to clear our board. Three mana for Surface Root Fossil. Yeah. Yeah, and we're kind of just in a really rough spot now. We can go Hobby's Familiar into Industrialize next turn. I'm just going to say K. Hate giving them the confirmation that I don't have interaction for this right now, but one option I do have here is... Now, I was going to say I could do Hobby's Familiar plus Scuttling Cicada, but like they just Chronicle clear that anyways. So we untap and draw, pick up another Industrialize. Let's run out the Hobby's Familiar. Run out the island. Fire off the Industrialize. You top 1. Move the other cityscape to the bottom. Draw. And pitch the cityscape. And that's going to grow our familiar. This is making it more likely we get hit with a Chronicle hand attack mode, but if they hit us with Chronicle hand attack, we can keep Industrialize Scuttling Cicada, and then go for Cicada, just natural Cicada plus Industrialize to insulate us against Chronicle Edict mode. The other concern here is they are 2 mana away from just flashing back a Chronicle and just completely eradicating us. So I think at this point, like we can't Light Vein Arrow their Reborn Lily. That's just going to get to survive forever. We have to point burn at their face here, if and when we can. So like this Light Vein Arrow is probably going to the dome at the end of their turn. I'm just going to hold up Counter Magic while I can. And if they go for the hand attack mode on Chronicle, then I'm just going to pitch this Igneous Visions and the Light Vein Arrow. I suppose other disaster scenario is they could do Chronicle Edict mode and Chronicle Hand Attack mode if they hit untapped land here. Alrontan Visionary. All right. Milling Visionary, Fisher, Archaic Obelisk. If they take the Obelisk and just run out the Obelisk here, that's huge for us. Okay, they're just taking the Fisher, and I think we're just gonna get hit by the Chronicle. Yep, they're gonna do the attack trigger. We just get to wait to see what happens here. They're just gonna get Cityscape, putting Root Fossil into bin. Yeah, now the problem is Scuttling Cicada doesn't help us insulate against these Chronicles because they can just go flashback a Chronicle to clear a board. And this is the disaster, right? Like this is such a strong deck game, like from the moment game 1, it's just so hard to beat. We just watched them drop Cryptolab into 3 Chronicle of Extinctions. We were never going to be super secure here, and they just get to go Chronicle, Edict us. Oh, they're going to Skotha first. This is actually really bad, too. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they can't flashback a Chronicle here, but they could just hit me with Chronicle of Extinction to, like, clear my hand in Graveyard. And it's safe to just assume they're hitting me with this. So pitching the Igneous Visions for sure. Scotha does notably say target player discards, but I'm not really going to wring my hands over that. Chronicle on Edict mode. Yep. Second mode. Target player discards 2, then exiles their graveyard. I'm just going to ask for the target. This is bad. They're thinking me. All right, this is going to be Lightvein Arrow Cicada out of here. And move this to exile. Yeah, the Scotha beforehand just makes that so much more devastating. Yeah, and this is the last turn of the game. They just get to flashback Chronicle of Awakening or Chronicle of Extinction here and completely erase us from this game. We draw Lightvein Arrow, not too shabby, but a little poorly timed at this rate. There is... I was going to say there's an out here. There's not. Aqua Crew Flagship would be nice earlier in the game, but at this rate, flashback Chronicle of Awakening is just going to clear it, as well as, Temple of Origins Island. So let's fire off the Industrialize. View the top one. Lightspeed Launcher just a little too late here. The draw we're getting from this is not going to matter at this point. We can just tuck that away to the bottom. I'm kind of looking for something I don't mind binning here. Savvy Smith is not going to be it. I am just going to be, I think, pitching the Savvy Smith. Buffing up Habe's Familiar. Ship 4 at my opponent. And pass on back. And we can Lightvein Arrow them to 6, but without being able to runner light, unless we can exactly runner Lightvein Arrows before they kill us, without them having any way of gaining life, we're probably just screwed here. And with Chronicle of Awakening having the life gain mode available to them, it seems pretty unlikely. They pitch a Cryptolab to the Cityscape. Presumably that was their draw for turn, because I don't see why they wouldn't just do that on my turn otherwise. Which tells me they probably like the card in their hand. They're going to combat. Being entirely honest, this is not a deck that I thought would still be viable in the March metagame. I figured after 2 GPs of black-green color graveyard like value piles dominating January and February, I really thought this deck would not be permitted, for lack of a better term, to be largely unscathed by March, the March patch. The Chronicle of Awakening change, does change the inflection point of this a little bit in terms of the casting cost up front. But I don't think it really does a whole lot in the grand scheme of things to make this deck too much worse. Ship that to the bottom. And they're floating 2, so they can just hit us with the probably the Chronicle of Extinction at this point. So they've got 3 mana, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, they're just going to flashback. I assume Chronicle of Extinction's the play here. Edict mode, hand attack, or some combination therein. Actually, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, actually, they can Chronicle of Awakening, blow up our blue sources, then Chronicle of Extinction Edict me. That's even better, because I was gonna say, like, if they don't Chronicle 1, 2, 3. Interesting. Oh no, that's I'm just gonna save us time here. I'm gonna save us time. Yeah, they're gaining life. I can't beat the life gain mode. Okay. Well, this was one of the matchups I was hoping to be prepared for, and this is why the Turn to Nyxes and Soul Guide Lanterns are here. Terminal Impact not going to be too good against them. Flame Whip not going to be too good against them. Satyr Arsonist actively really bad against them. They are so basic heavy. Things we can go down on. Firebolt. As much as I like having Burn and having Reach, I think this is just a little too slow against them particularly. This is good if they have a bunch of small creatures we care about, but at the end of the day, their small creatures are mana, and while putting them off some mana in the first turns are going to matter, by the time they get to turn 5 or 6, it's not. And I think while being able to burn their early ramp creatures is good, as we saw that game, they whiffed with their root fossil. They didn't hit a mana harvesters until they'd already gotten Cryptolab set up, and it just didn't matter. Like we cleared the mana harvesters immediately, and they just got to go on with their day. So Firebolt not super good in this matchup. Habe's Familiar is good if we can get it to scale in and ahead of the Chronicle of Extinctions, but it's very finicky in making it do so. So we could look at taking out some of those, but I think I'm going to go down the Refracts. Honestly, as nice as it is to have stack interaction against this deck, too much stack interaction is kind of a liability, and one of the realities of this matchup is that they're going to have a lot of mana. So it's hard to justify holding up a Refract when our opponent is in on just so many high mana things while being able to float so much mana. In fact, we could even maybe look at cutting the 4th Refract for one of the terminal impacts, or bringing one of the Firebolts back in for a little more reach. I'd rather have the impact, I think, but yeah, we're just out on the quenches, out on the small burn. Just in on trying to kill them with these creatures and using Turn to Nyx as our new interaction spell of choice. Notably, one point of concern here is we're going up 3 artifacts and going down 3 on our 3 cards in our instant sorcery count. That is a bit awkward for us. If we wanted to try and mitigate that, we could bring in more terminal impacts and cut maybe some of our creatures. But I think all of our creatures play a really important role in this matchup. I don't know if we can really safely go down any of them. So going to kind of stick with what we've got here for now. Anyways, it looks like our opponent has disconnected, so I'm going to pause recording real quick while we wait for them to come back. And then we will hop into round 2. Or game 2, rather. Alrighty. Heading into game 2, not round 2. That's an awkward that's an awkward opening hand. I would love to keep this and then just draw runner lands here. And we could even just go like turn 1 Cicada on an island into, turn 2, hold up Turn to Nyx while they fill their graveyard. Or like Light Vein Arrow into turn 3 Aqua Crew Flagship, largely unchecked. But yeah, we're gonna have to mulligan 1 lander here. This is keepable. We can go probably just nothing on turn 1. Into Familiar on 2. And then we can industrialize on 3 to start getting the Familiar train rolling. But yeah, it's a little bit of a slow hand, admittedly. I'm going to pop out graveyards now in advance of things being done. Them fetching immediately tells me they have something to do here, which is not something I'm super happy about. Harvest Time is far from the most offensive thing they could do this turn, though. As far as the graveyard goes, I could see them boarding in Soul Guide Lanterns. I could see them boarding in Club Promoter, Hungry Blob. They probably don't keep in their 1 Vorpal Titan, then they don't bring in the 2nd. I think it's likely they just bring in like the artifact removal and the graveyard hate. Don't want to overboard for this matchup, and I think the targeted removal and hand attack can both be a little awkward given how much of our graveyard is a resource, and given how our individual creatures aren't necessarily super high value. It's just about having the right ones at the right times. They didn't shuffle in between those, but That's fine. It's just two different instances of searching their library. I'm not going to be fussy about it. Let's just get the familiar out here and hope it does its job. And they boarded in the Final Fate. That's disastrous. Did not think they would go up that this matchup, but it seems that was their call. Righty then. Awful. Well, we have to industrialize here before we do anything else, I think. We could keep Scuttling Cicada, but I think we just need to find an individual card with higher quality right now. We draw another Industrialize. I think we're just pitching the Industrialize here and developing this Primal Fisher. We can hold up Light Vein Arrow and we can fetch an island for Light Vein Arrow, but I would honestly prefer holding this to just fetch a mountain, given the 2 red spells in our hand and the second island in our hand. Archaic Obelisk as their play before developing another land. That's interesting. We're going to say okay to that. Would love to say no to anything that generates cards in their graveyard, but... Okay, they did have the Primal Fisher. So this does allow them to put themselves to 6 cards in graveyard. Honestly, a little surprising to see them get the Forest when Final Fate does want them to develop black sources. I'm going to crack Primal Fisher here, just go get the mountain now, rather than waiting. Dream top deck here is Aqua Crew Flagship. That's not what I said. Yeah. Let's flashback Industrialize. View top 1. Cicada again, not quite what we need here. Ship that to the bottom. Draw another Industrialize. I think we're gonna discard the Primal Fisher this time. Play out the island and just kind of represent interaction here. Binning 2 cityscapes off of the Archaic Obelisk is interesting. Yeah, and pretty unsurprisingly, they don't take off of the Obelisk. That Final Fate really was brutal. If we could have kept that first hand and drawn out of the one-lander situation, that would have been an amazing hand, but didn't really want to take the chance, especially with you know, our only castable creature being blue and our only castable card advantage tool being... Oh, and I really don't like them getting Cryptolab here. Oh my god, 2 more... Oh my god, 3 Chronicles off of a Cryptolab again. They can't keep getting away with this. This is insane. And with just how far behind we are, like... There's no price to just kind of waiting on like any sort of board interaction. They can just Chronicle our hand out of oblivion. Yeah, so in this situation, I am just Light Vein Arrowing them at this end step. I see the writing on the wall here. I need to make this a good card on top. That's not a good card on top. God, this is all of the wrong things that we need to have happening. And did we just get shuffle bugged? We got shuffle bugged. Or scry bugged, I guess. Because that is the card we scried to bottom. Ugh. We're going to industrialize from hand, I think, here. The top 1. Ship that to bottom so fast. Igneous Visions. We will discard. Pay a red and flash back this Igneous Visions. Temple of Origins. Oh my god. what do we even do at this rate? Like, there's no world where we just terminal impact them for 2. I feel like we've just already lost. I'm not sure what we can do about this. Said I'm trying to figure out if there's a single path to victory with these draws against 3 Chronicles off of Cryptolab again, but it's not looking great. And Philippe, pretty rightly says my guess is no, but it's worth playing out all the same. And I am gonna play this out, but I feel like it is gonna be a little moot here. We could industrialize here from graveyard just to try and find something to do. If we can industrialize into exactly turn to Nyx and we just pitch this terminal impact, we can develop island, hold up turn. We could always win via disconnection. Uh yeah, I think we got to flashback the industrialize here. If you top 1. Oh, speaking of, opponent just disconnected. I'm going to hold on the scry while we wait for our opponent to come back. But yeah, I'm thinking this is just a really rough situation. Scrying islands to the bottom, having to scry the cicadas to bottom, and still having 7 lands in the top 15 in the first 15 cards we've seen out of our library is really awkward. Only one like truly viable creature to develop early in the Hobby's Familiar, which just immediately got picked off by the Final Fate, and now at this point with 3 Chronicles, any creatures we develop are kind of just gonna be not enough. We really do need exactly Aqua Crew Flagship to recover from this game, but if they have even a single piece of artifact disruption, which safe to assume they boarded those in, and of course Chronicle of Awakening is artifact removal as well, we are just in such a rough spot. And yeah, it's looking bad, gang. I'm just gonna hold on that. All right, I'm gonna pause till they come back, but cannot say I'm super optimistic. Alrighty. Opponent is back. Making sure they're good before I resolve this industrialize, because I do not want to jump ahead of them. Oh, that's heartbreaking. If that was 1 card higher up, then I could have hit that off of the Igneous Visions, not had to flashback this industrialize, and had a chance. But I can't keep this because my opponent chronicles me next turn, and I'm discarding this Aqua Crew Flagship no matter what, because the industrialize is going to force me to discard a card, putting 2 in hand with Chronicle of Extinction lined up. This is so nightmarish. Man, even with the nerf to how high this can hit as a board wipe, this is just such a obscenely powerful card. The flexibility provided by Chronicle of Extinction, combined with the game-ending flashback mode, is just such a headache. being entirely earnest, it is probably my least favorite card in the format, even post nerf. The nerf does help a lot to make some creature decks still viable into it. It does give the card a notable weakness against creatures with 3 or more toughness. But in particularly Philippe's deck, being able to flash this back means the -2/-2 is often going to be more than enough when you're doing it 3 times. I got to move this flagship to the bottom. I need to find something I can play now, and if I can't, I'm playing this island and just hitting them with a terminal impact for 2. Temple of Origins. We are discarding the Temple of Origins. We may just leave this temple in exile and terminal impact them for 2. Actually. I'm not going to terminal impact. I think the 2 damage doesn't matter as much as making them paranoid of a counterspell being held up. Granted, we don't have turn to Nyx here, as much as I would love to have turn to Nyx here. Root Fossil milled, Cityscape milled, and they have the land drop, so now they can go Chronicle plus Cryptolabe, Chronicle plus Cryptolabe to surface the Root Fossil. We have outs here still. They require us top decking the second flagship. That Industrialize. If I had not flashed back the Industrialize, I would probably be in a great spot here. But I just needed to try and sculpt my draws here a little bit, and not being able to in this particular instance really, really puts us in a nasty spot. So yeah, they're going to Chronicle us. Second mode targeting me. Yeah, that's just going to be terminal impact to the yard and everything gone. And then they surface the Root Fossil here. All right, gang, we need that flagship here. It just dawned on me as well. If I'd gone for the Industrialize instead of the Igneous Visions, been able to move that lands to the bottom and seen the flagship, I would be golden here. So ordering mistake there in some regard too, but I just wanted to try and do the visions first because there's no guarantee I get to play the card depending on how much mana I have up. Untap and draw. Howbase Familiar is not gonna quite cut it, but it may just get them to play a Final Fate from the graveyard if nothing else. Or they just Chronicle of Extinction. Honestly, I think they Final Fate here just because they have that available to them compared to the Chronicle of Extinction. Because the Final Fate is vulnerable to any graveyard hate I pull. And they're getting a second Cryptolave, which is going to put them very comfortably in range of flashing back the Chronicles on future turns. Surveilling Forest into play off of the Reborn Lily, milling a Chronicle of Awakening. Six mana Scotha. Yup. I will say I'm doing what I can to not get too salty or too tilted, but I have some choice thoughts about this deck. I have some thoughts about this deck still existing after February. All right. How to plan for this matchup? We did not draw any of the cards needed for the plan. And our opponent just got to run away with both games. That is the Chronicle Ramp match in a nutshell. You really do need to kill them within like 3 or 4 turns, or else you are just dead. Because they're just going to completely outvalue you. GG's to Philippe. They have created an absolute monster. Not one I am particularly fond of. I'm going to try and keep the whinging to a minimum. But suffice to say, I am not happy to have matched up into this deck, even with trying to prepare for it. And as that matchup showed, you can prepare all you want, but if the draws aren't there for you, then you just lose. And yeah, preparation can only do so much. The Mulligans are a beast with a mind of its own. So, tournament's not over for me just yet. There are 2 more rounds to play. If we can win both of those rounds, we have a shot at the top cut still. But that was a particularly rough round. Does not leave me feeling too optimistic about the future, but you never know what the future rounds hold. So I will see you all in round 3.